Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, ciao, bonjour, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hey, my name is Jedley. Welcome to Reading with Your Kids. We are coming to you from the beautiful, wonderful, historical neighborhood of Reedville, located in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so very honored and absolutely delighted that you are joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. We do that by sharing fun, thoughtful, and thought-provoking conversations with fascinating people who just happen to be writing books for kids of all ages. You can join us in our mission by telling all of your family and friends about the show and letting them know that they can hear us on the WREB AM/FM 24/7 radio network. And they can find us on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Good Pods, Amazon Music, Podcast Addict, Audible, CastBox, Player FM. Wherever you find your favorite shows, you can find Reading with Your Kids. We are celebrating the start of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month with conversation with Ha Dinh. She's returning to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate her brand new picture book. It's called The Jade Bracelet. We'll also be taking a listen back to a conversation we had with our buddy Yobe Qiu. Before we invite our guest into the studio, I would love to invite you to visit a very special website. It's clownswithoutborders.org. Clownswithoutborders.org. This is a group that I absolutely adore. I am part of Clowns Without Borders, and I had the honor of being part of the 2023 tour of El Salvador. I had so much fun joining with artists from all over the world to bring a smile to people who really needed it and really appreciated it too. And we would love for you to join us as a monthly Joy Maker. The Joy Makers, they're a family of people just like you who love to laugh and make other people feel good. So please take a moment and visit clownswithoutborders.org and consider joining me as a Joy Maker. Hey families, would you like to share a miracle with your kids? At the Wolf Conservation Center, hope was fading. The endangered Mexican wolves dreamed of a pup, but none had come. Until one tiny miracle changed everything. Meet Trumpet, a real-life wolf pup whose incredible birth brought joy, hope, and a lesson in conservation. Trumpet the Miracle Wolf, written by Leocadia George, is a heartwarming true story that will inspire your whole family. Teach your kids the power of hope, love, and protecting endangered species. Get your copy today and join the wild adventure. Join us right now from the great state of Texas. Our guest is returning to Reading with Your Kids to celebrate her brand new picture book. It's called The Jade Bracelet. Please welcome back to the show, Ha Dinh. Hey, Ha, how are you?
I am so good. Thank you for having me back on, and I'm so excited.
I'm excited to have you back on. Probably a month and a half, 2 months ago, we featured a listen back of your first visit to the episode on one of our recent episodes. I really enjoyed speaking to you back then, and I'm excited to have you on now.
Yay! I am just thrilled to even be invited back. After the first one, I was like, I hope he likes me. I hope the listeners love my story, and I hope I get another chance to come back, and here we are. So yay.
Here we are. So tell us about the Jade Bracelet.
Okay, so the Jade Bracelet, it's based on my memories of being 7 years old and coming over to America and having my mom gifting me a jade bracelet of my own when I was, in elementary school, trying to figure out like who I am and where I belong and where I fit in at school. I just remember seeing the jade bracelet that my mom was wearing. I just didn't think that I was going to get one. And so when she gifted me one, it was almost a struggle between like, oh my gosh, thank you, Mom, like for thinking of me. And that's so sweet because now we get to match. But then again, like I was also in my head wearing a solid piece of rock around my wrist. versus what my friends or other kids at school were wearing at the time, which was were like beaded bracelets or bracelets with charms and whatnot. And that wanting, that desire to fit in really made it difficult for me to want to honor my mom and our family traditions. And I think that all of those feelings I had as a kid just stayed inside of me. And that's what inspired the story after I wrote Where Wildflowers Grow, which is based on like my family's journey from Vietnam to America. I knew that this was going to be the second book.
I love that. There's a lot to talk about here, but I love that we just recently had featured author Wendy Pham on the show, celebrating her books that celebrate Vietnamese culture. I'm so happy that we have more opportunities from authors from Vietnam to let us know, to give us a window into this culture that has been a huge part, for good and bad, of American culture.
Yes, I love that publishing now is so accessible. No matter if you're a traditional published author or you're a self-published author, we all have stories that are so important that we need to share and share with our children so that they understand so many different pieces of history and traditions and things that really make America what America is, which is all of us are the threads from different places in the world coming together to create this beautiful fabric that we know that is the identity of America, and I just love that the accessibility is there now. No matter how you get published, if you have the heart for children, if you want to share your stories, if you want to make an impact in our youth and the next generation with your stories, the ability to do that now is so much more accessible than it was ever before.
Absolutely. Now, getting back to the Jade Bracelet, you obviously experienced something that I think a lot of kids go through. It's like, I don't want to be different. I want to be like everybody else.
Yes, it's so complex, and that's what I love about writing for children, is that I want them to understand that humans, we're just so complex and our stories are complex and we're layered. We're more than just one dimensional. It's okay to want to honor your family traditions, but it's also okay to have these conflicting feelings like, I want to fit in. How can, I live in two different cultures at the same time? Just growing up, like growing pains and learning how to become your own person and claiming your own identity and your own voice. I think all of that is just so important. And I love writing for children because I think so highly of what children are capable of. I want to write stories that really help them to think deeply about different important issues in the world. Just kind of like Where Wildflowers Grow is like, what are refugees? Why do people want to go to America? And so reading that really got children to really ask those hard questions and do their own research. Where in this story, it's more about what are family traditions? Do we have our own family traditions? Then they get to start asking those questions at home and have really good, meaningful conversations as a family. And that's what I really love.
I want to go back a little bit to what you're saying about all these different communities and peoples coming together to create this American fabric.
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderful. And I've shared this with a couple of authors in the past, and they didn't necessarily agree with me, and that's okay. But one of my favorite things, when I was a kid, I was that weird kid who liked to listen to talk shows. And there was a overnight talk show here in Boston. The host was a guy named Larry Glick. And he had all the people who were abducted by aliens and the people could read your mind and all that kind of stuff. So he had all these strange characters. But people would call up and they would go, Larry, I'm an Irish American. Larry, I'm an Italian American. Larry, I'm a Vietnamese American. And he would always stop them, correct them, and say, nope, nope, nope. You're an American of Vietnamese descent. You're an American of Irish descent. And I love that because as you were speaking, especially as you made that analogy to the fabric, I think if we stress what we have in common and what we've built together in common first, I'm an American and I have this other thing that I brought to America. Like I said, a lot of people just want to hang on to, I'm a Vietnamese, I'm an Irish American. You know, what, as I'm presenting this to you, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to put you on the spot. What do you think about that?
I think that like in Vietnamese, when we like describe ourselves as Vietnamese Americans, it really is like the translation is an American with roots in Vietnam, which is very similar to what you're saying, like an American with like as a descendant from Vietnam, right? We have roots in a different country, but that doesn't take away like who we are right now. Yeah, I think back from like, especially when I was writing this story, all my life, I felt like I was living in dual identities and dual cultures. And then there were times where they were dueling cultures and dueling identities, you know, and as I grew up and as I realized, how much of both I am, that I don't have to choose. And there is no need to choose. I am as much of an American as I am a Vietnamese person. I came here when I was 5. Like America is like my home. I know more about America and American life than I know of what it feels like to live in Vietnam. And so I grew up with, like I said, dual cultures and dual identities. And then I felt like they were dueling one another many times. But now I feel like I'm a blend of both cultures and I claim both identities because I'm so proud of both identities. And I know that, you know, if it wasn't for my family coming to America, I couldn't be here. I couldn't have all these opportunities and be able to be an American teacher and do all the things that I get to do today. So I think that sharing this story and sharing, you know, my experiences of growing up in 2 different cultures and what it means to me, for me now to claim who I am, using my own stories, using my own voice, will help the new generation coming up. You know, like my own kids, you know, they are Vietnamese, but they are Americans too, but they were born here in America. And so they're, to them, like this is all that they've ever known. And I don't ever want them to feel like they don't fit in here or they don't fit in there. They fit in wherever they are and wherever that may be.
I love that idea of fitting in. And I also love, I may have to change things. I love saying I'm an American with roots in Vietnam or Ireland or Italy, wherever. That's really beautiful. And it's a great way to look at it too. I love learning things, being the host of Reading with Your Kids. Going back to the Jade Bracelet, I think families could have some really great conversations. Obviously, if we're talking about a Vietnamese family, a great way to start talking about our culture together and what we still celebrate here, what we maybe want to start celebrating again. But what can a family who's here in America with roots in Ireland or Israel or Russia, what kind of conversations do you think the Jade Bracelet would inspire with those families?
I hope that they will finish reading the book and then wonder about their own family traditions. This is my hope. My hope is that the kids, they can read something, learn, empathize with like a character or feel like they can connect with the main character, but then also use this opportunity to ask their own family, like, what are some of our family traditions? Why are they special to us? How can I participate? How can I be part of this tradition? How can I continue this tradition? How can I bring this tradition to my school? How can I bring this tradition to my surroundings? And that's what I hope. I think that for so long as a child, I just felt like I don't think my friends at school would understand what I'm going through, you know, like no matter if I'm celebrating Tet or if I'm celebrating like Jungto, which is like the Mid-Autumn Festival, or whatever that, you know, I'm doing at home, the foods that I ate when I was a kid. I would rarely talk about that at school because I just felt like an outsider, you know, and I didn't want to like be the designated like representative of my culture, you know, at school. I mean, I was just a kid. I just wanted to be a kid. I just wanted to blend in, you know. So I think that this book is a great opportunity for children to say, you know what, whatever walls that we put up, are the walls that keep us away from what could be, you know, that maybe instead of feeling like, oh no, I'm an outsider or they don't understand, maybe we should just say, maybe let me explain it, you know, maybe let me share it in a way where I'm comfortable of sharing it, without feeling like I have to represent everybody, but just in using my own voice in my own capacity, just where I am, just sharing what I love about a tradition that I have from my family. And I really hope that this is a good segue for teachers to bring into their classroom and, you know, speak about how wonderful and diverse our American classrooms are at the beginning of the school year. And let the students take this opportunity to share what makes their family special to everyone.
Yeah. Is there something one of your classmates could have said to you when you were wearing that jade bracelet that would have made you feel, oh, I do fit in here, but I can also celebrate this cool little bracelet?
I think so. I think like if I was like, you know, comfortable enough to like really show it off, you know, and instead of kind of hiding it under my clothes or hiding it with my other hand, I think that it would invite more kids in the classroom to be like, that's so cool. You know, how can I get one too? Because that's like the whole point of like sharing our stories really is just making these really meaningful connections from one human to another. And just having the kids understand that we all belong to this wonderful human experience and we all experience such a wide range of emotions. And that's what makes us wonderful and complex and layered. But that also makes us just who we are as individuals.
Amen. I remember I had a very close friend in middle school whose family was from Latvia. And I remember being over his house and hearing his mom and him and his mom speaking in this language. And I would say to him, "Hey, what's that language?" And he like, but I'm curious. It sounds cool. I want to know. But I didn't learn until I was late in high school that it was Latvian and he was from Latvia. But so he certainly was experiencing what you were experiencing at 7. He didn't want anybody to know that he was different.
Yes, for sure. I think I felt that many times, you know, I just growing up, not really talking about like what we ate at home, whatnot, but then now there are Vietnamese restaurants at almost every corner where like in Texas here. And that just makes my heart so happy. And, I tell my kids all the time, like, you guys don't understand how lucky you guys are. Like to live in a time now where it's so accessible and it's so much part of like the community, like our culture is so much part of the community that it's not such a big deal when like you say, yeah, I eat pho or I eat bún bò Huế, that another classmate could be like, oh my gosh, I love that too. We go to that same restaurant like at least like once a week or something like that, you know, and just to feel like we are now not the others, but we are like one another.
Yeah, I love that. We're not an other, we're one another.
Hmm.
Hey, what food, if somebody's not lucky enough to live near
Hmm.
a Vietnamese restaurant, what food should we check out?
Oh, there's just such a wide range of like wonderful Vietnamese food to check out. Like I said, like the spicy beef noodle is bún bò Huế. Um, and I love, of course, like pho, and you can get like the beef pho or the chicken pho. You could get like mì sao yong, which is like the crunchy noodles with all of like the meat and the sauce and the vegetables on top of it. A lot of restaurants call them like a bird's nest because that's kind of like the shape of it with all of the food on top. Of course, spring rolls and egg rolls and then you also have like our puddings, like our jare, and then the rice cakes for bud. So there's just such a variety of Vietnamese food, and I'm just very happy that and grateful that there are so many Vietnamese restaurants here in Texas where my children they feel like they're almost kind of living in Vietnam without really having living in Vietnam because of this exposure to like the culture and how it's being shared in the community.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Wonderful. You mentioned that you're a teacher. This is your second book. And we were talking before we started. You are so very proud of your books and being an author, and you certainly deserve to be proud. Is there another book coming out?
I do have another like a chapter series that's coming out with Zonder Kids, and that the it's a 3 book chapter series. This is the first chapter series that has a Vietnamese American main character, and so it's very I would describe the series as just like a sweet third grader who is trying to thrive in third grade and find her voice and find her way in third grade with her family, friends, and faith in her heart. Just trying to be a good friend and a good daughter and just a good community member and trying to figure out how she can find a way to make herself proud, make her family proud, but also just being a good friend. And I'm just really excited. So the first book of the series will come out on June 3rd. And it's called Li Lang and the New Class Mix-Up. And then after that, we'll have Li Lang and the Unfair Book Fair.
Huh?
And then we'll have Li Lang and the Missing Tooth Fairy. So I am just so thrilled about the series. I also have another picture book coming out in September with Albert Whitman, and it's called The Moon Lantern, and it's based on the Vietnamese moon lantern, the Moon Festival. I'm sorry. So, or you could call it the Mid Autumn Festival.
Right.
So I'm just super excited. The stars kind of just align so that like all these books are coming out this year. We didn't plan it so, it just happened to be so, but I'm just so excited just to be able to share all the stories that I've been carrying around in my head all these years, and then now I get to share them. So,
Awesome. One last question. What do your kids, both your kids and the kids that you teach, think about you being an author?
I think that my kids, like at first, like when I told them that they were kind of like, they were very excited. They were like, they're super proud of me. But they were like for real, like a real published author. And yeah, so when I told them, about, when my first book came out, they were just so super happy and supportive. In my head, I'm always going to be like a first grade teacher. I've always wanted to be an author. Like my first love, I remember when I first came over to America and I was in kindergarten and I was so afraid I didn't speak the language and I was just so nervous. I held onto this picture book in my hands and it's down by the bay. And I didn't know what the bay was. I didn't know who the people were down in the bay. I didn't know exactly what they were doing down by the bay. But when I opened up the book, I knew I wanted to be them. I wanted to be there down by the bay with them. And I just remember how much happiness and solace and comfort I felt in picture books. And I knew that like one day I wanted to be an author, but it just seemed so like such a big dream for a little kid. But I always held that dream in my heart, even when I was pursuing to be an elementary school teacher. I knew that that was the path that was going to help me accomplish this other goal that I had at that point. And I'm just so glad that it did, because when I came to America, I was only 5. I didn't know any English. And so for me today to have like 2 published books out already and more coming, it really is a dream come true. And my students have been just so amazing. I taught in an elementary setting as a classroom teacher for 16 years. And so now I am a reading intervention teacher and dyslexia teacher. And so I am just so thrilled and grateful to continue to share this love of literacy, this love of reading with other children and help making it more accessible for them. So I hope they're so proud of me, because every day I'm so super proud of my own kids and of my students as well.
That's wonderful. Hey, we should tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Jade Bracelet and find out more about Ha Dinh.
So you could definitely go on to my website. You could go to happydaysinfirstgrade.com. And that is my website that I started when I started sharing all of my teaching ideas and resources as a classroom teacher. And so I just decided to keep it. So there are sections. There's a tab on my website about my picture books that you could read about it. Or you could also like book an author visit with me. But you could always go on to penguinrandomhouse.com, and you could always look up the Jade Bracelet. It's available on their website. This book is also available on Amazon, on Barnes & Noble, Target, Walmart, wherever books are sold, it's available.
Wonderful. Well, you mentioned earlier on, after your first visit, you were worried about me. I hope he likes me, and I hope we like you a whole lot, and we want you to come back later in the summer to celebrate the new book.
Oh, I would be thrilled to be back. Thank you for always being so supportive to all of us authors and book creators. That's just like a dream for us, is to write books that we really love and be able to share our love with everyone who appreciate and love our books. And so thank you for appreciating and loving the books that I've written. So that means the world to me.
We've had a great time speaking to the author of the Jade Bracelet. Our guest has been Ha Dinh, and we'll see you later in the summer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody.
My friends, if you have ever thought about owning a business that's fun, rewarding, and makes a valuable contribution to kids' education, well, Brooklyn Robot Foundry is calling your name. I recently met Jenny Young. She's the founder of Brooklyn Robot Foundry. And let me tell you, she is incredible. Her passion for getting kids excited about STEAM, that's STEM plus art, it's contagious. I'm telling you. This isn't your average kids program. Brooklyn Robot Foundry is all about hands-on, screen-free STEAM fun. These kids get to build a different robot each class and take it home with them afterwards. Kids love it. Parents are raving about it. And now you can own a franchise and bring this incredible experience to families in your community. Now, this isn't your typical franchise. Brooklyn Robot Foundry is a mobile, flexible business with a deep curriculum that's making a real impact in schools and communities around the country. Franchise owners get a proven curriculum, full training, and support from a passionate team. So what are you waiting for? Please visit bit.ly/RobotJed. That's bit.ly/RobotJed. And let them know you heard about it on Reading with Your Kids. I am so excited. You know, one of the things about being a podcaster, about being the host of the Reading with Your Kids podcast, is I've made so many friends through this podcast. And our guest today is absolutely one of those friends. She's returning to the show to celebrate her new book, Asian Adventures A to Z, and also, and probably more importantly, to celebrate Asian American Heritage Month. Please welcome back to the show, Yobe Qiu. Yobe, how are you?
Hi, Jed. I am doing really well, almost the best I've done entire years, and I'm so happy and so glad to be on your show again. Thank you for having me.
I'm really excited. We have such a wonderful time speaking probably about a year ago about your Moon Festival books, and that was really fun because it gave us a chance to talk about not only the Lunar New Year, but also just talk about the fact that what a lot of people refer to as Chinese New Year is actually a holiday that is celebrated all throughout Asia in very different ways. And it was a way for us to just kind of highlight the fact that Asia is this huge continent with many, many peoples and many, many different cultures. It's a very diverse place.
It is, and that's very exciting for me as I am looking into learning more about my heritage, about my community. I was raised in New York City. My mother thinks that I'm more American now than I am Asian or Chinese, but it's until I gave birth to my toddler daughter and I want to teach her about her heritage, about our community. I have to go and learn about these things myself. And what better way to learn about my culture, our history, how diverse we are by researching about book and writing in books. And I wrote about all the different ways our community celebrate Lunar New Year, the Moon Festival, and our double celebration for our double fifth holiday. And that's my newest book. But then it got me to think, even with all of these books that are written, there are so many communities that are not featured. When you think about the Asian community, most people think about the Chinese community, the Korean community, the Japanese community, because it's in media more. There are more representation. People go to those countries, but there is just so many, too many to count. So I wanted to write a book that features as many communities as I can, and that's when I wrote Asian Adventures A to Z.
Yeah, you mentioned those three big cultures right off the bat. China, Korea, Japan, because they are so big and they are in the media. But even within China, I know from hosting international students from China in our home, welcoming them into our family. They're now family members. Even within China, there are so many different ethnicities. There's the one major, the Han ethnicity is the majority, but there are so many smaller ethnicities all throughout that vast country.
Jed, I think you might know more than me about China and its ethnicities. I know that there are so many ways. The languages are so different. My husband is 2 hours, his family is 2 hours away from my family. And it's like I can't understand what he's saying. And people speak different language. They have different ways of living. They have different food. And we're just 5 hours driving, 2 hours driving away. It's very, very diverse. And as I'm older now, I am learning to find the beauty in all of that. It's like meeting someone that looks like me, that can speak the same language as me, but very different from me in terms of the way we think, in terms of the way we live. So it's very fascinating.
Yeah. And, I love that May is Asian Heritage Month. And I think it's really important because the Asian community, they've been an important part of the United States for centuries. I would easily say that there are many, many Chinese families of Chinese descent that have been here in the United States longer than my family. I'm second generation on one side of my family. Meanwhile, there have been, Chinese people contributing to this country since at least the 1800s, if not before.
You are very kind and you are such an ally. And we thank you for that. It's not the easiest time for the Asian community in America, but America is such a diverse place. And I think that there are so many of Americans that are open and welcoming to celebrate differences and diversity and culture. And we have an entire month for Asian Heritage Month. And I love that. And we have a Black History Month. We have a month dedicated to different communities, and I love that, and I want to really pay attention to what can we do this year to raise even more awareness around our community and our beauty of our culture. So, and I'm here talking to you, so thank you for giving me this platform again.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. Why, a family listening to this, whether they're in a cosmopolitan city like New York or Boston, or in a more rural community out in the Midwest in Indiana or Kansas, what's the first way for us to start talking with our kids and celebrating Asian history and culture?
I think there are many ways to do that. If you want to learn more about any culture, the first thing you should do is pick up a book, a children's book that will feature the storyline, the people, the family, the culture, the food they eat. And children love reading and they learn a lot through books. And diversifying your libraries can open their minds and take them to places that they've never heard of, never even, you can't even wrap your mind around certain landscape and food and culture and language and words and pictures. And picture books are the best way for a parent to start introducing beautiful world to their children.
I do agree. And one of the neat things about a picture book is that there's, when you're talking about a very different culture from your own with kids, and it might be the first time that you've been reading about this certain culture, so it's hard for you to kind of, just take words that are printed on a page and kind of help a kid understand that. And when you have a picture book, it's like, oh, we can see this. This is what we're talking about. This is what a wok is, and this is how certain people cook their food.
Yes, these pictures books are so important because there's a lot of people who wants to teach their child about a certain culture, about different foods, but they themselves may not feel comfortable. I know teachers, I work with a lot of educators in different school districts, and they want to be diverse. They want to include their children and the students and all of the beautiful cultures, but they don't know how to pronounce certain words. And then they don't, because they don't. And we're doing a lot on and teachers about cultural awareness, but with picture books, the beauty of it, look at this, look at it. It looks like people around the world, a lot of them eat with chopsticks and not forks, right? Look at this. This is how someone eat their breakfast. It's called dim sum. There's so many different ways of dumpling, and the way you order from a Chinese restaurant near you in Indiana or in Michigan or in Ohio might not look like the dim sums that are served somewhere in New York or Boston. So these open a lot of wonderful conversation. And if parents or educators have a hard time communicating or teaching, where they just don't feel 100% confident, the answer is, you know what, I'm not sure, but we can look more into this. That's a perfect answer because we're all learning together.
Yeah. I love that. And I want to take a minute just to really, really highlight that, what you just said. I don't know. I think that those are three of the most important words a parent can say to their kids. I don't know. I know you put me up on a pedestal. I know I'm so important to you. I'm your parent. You think I know everything, but I don't know everything.
Yes.
And and Yobe, you are an early childhood educator, so you're an expert at this field. You don't hurt your position as a parent by letting your kid know that you don't know all the answers. I think it actually enhances your role as a parent because your kids can see, my mom, my dad, they're human beings. They don't know everything, but they know how to they know how to find out things. And wow, what a great example. I don't know everything, but there's a way for me to find it out.
Yes, and it shows them that you are open to learning new things, which is what we want our children, no matter how old they are, to kind of have this habit of just kind of opening to learning new things, new skills, even no matter how uncomfortable it might be for them to say the word chopstick or walk but as long as they're open to learning about it, and you can be there to help them learn about things that interest them. And that's our only job as a parent, I think. Our job isn't, or educator, isn't to teach them, to tell them, but to kind of support their learning, to guide them where they can find answers. And I firmly believe that's what I'm doing every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that, the dim sum, the dumplings that somebody might experience in New York City is different. It might be different than what you can get down in Florida or Indiana. That was one of the things that blew my mind when I started touring as a magician. I loved what we call Chinese food here in Boston. And then I remember going to New York and going to a restaurant and having it there. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is brown. In Boston, it's green. And there's all this other, wait.
Yes. When the first time my parents and I went to a Chinese restaurant, because, we don't go to Chinese restaurants, we cook our Chinese food. Why are we going out to pay for Chinese food? And they ordered a wonton soup, and they saw that it was yellow skinned. My parents are like, what on earth is this? But there are so many different wonton soups or ways to make wonton, and depending on where you go, it's a different way. And I think that's beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. I don't think I shared this with you before when one of our Chinese daughters, she was here, and we took her to a very famous, very well-known Asian fusion restaurant that has locations all over the country and in different countries around the world. And we took her there, and she saw all the Asian decor and everything. And when the food came out, the first thing she said to us was, "This isn't Chinese food."
That's funny.
So talk a little bit. You mentioned that this has been a difficult year for people in the Asian community. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Absolutely. This has not been the easiest year for the Asian community, given the whole pandemic that's going on. And it's not easy for many people, but I think because of the media throwing out words like Chinese virus, Kung flu all the time, and the crime in the Asian community has risen a whole bunch. I think it's like 900% in New York City. It's not easy. And when I was writing my Moon Festival book in July, I really struggled with, is this the best time for me to do something like this? I have businesses in New York. I'm scared as heck too, just like everyone else. I'm really scared for my family. Should I be doing this? Should I be writing about Asian culture? Should I be promoting my Kickstarter? Should I be telling everyone about my mission, about my book to diversify children's libraries and include Asian children and families and culture in the books? And should I be presenting to corporations and school districts? I really, really struggle with that. And I knew that I have to. It's my duty to. It's my responsibility to. Because I want to believe that there are people whose allies and friends, and they're more good in the world than what the media is portraying to scare everyone, right? And to divide us in a sense. So I did it. And every single week I went out there and I met new friends like you. Every single week I went out and I talked about my mission, my books, and why it's important for us to have a representation and have a voice. And so many people welcomed me. And I'm forever grateful. It really showed me that there are more rainbow moments than there are storms. And that even though it's a very scary time for us, so many people supported my Kickstarter, wanting to help. On the last day of my Kickstarter for my second one, last 5 days, the Atlanta shooting happened. And I made a post and I said, everyone's hurting. I'm going to donate 100% of my proceeds in the last 5 days because I've already met my goal at that moment. And the outpour of donations I'd never imagined I would have gotten that if I did not make the post standing up to say, I'm hurting. as an Asian person as well. And it wasn't easy for me to be very public about my feelings on social media, because I'm having my brand, all the schools and all of the work that I've done, just standing firm on that. And out came a lot of good. I saw so many people supporting and sending messages. And that's very uplifting. I wish the media would cover more of how friendly Americans are, how amazing most people are. And there are certain things like you read online, we just kind of like forget it, move on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love that. I love what you said. There are more rainbows than storms. And I also love that you're really highlighting the fact that there are so many people in our country that want to live up to the ideals of the country, that want us to be one American family with that has lots of different colors and lots of different flavors and lots of different languages and songs. And that's the beautiful world that I want my grandkids to grow up in. As soon as I meet them, I hopefully I'm not there yet, but I'm really hoping that they get to live in a world like that Dr. Martin Luther King dreamed about, where they are judged by the content of their character, where it doesn't, where no one turns their head and gives a second look to a kid whose family originated from Thailand, hanging out and playing with a kid whose family originated from Nigeria, whose family originated from Ireland, just to see kids as kids and being able to be friends. And that's just this beautiful dream that I've had ever since I first heard Dr. King speak those words, and it's lived with me, and I'm really hoping that you and I can create that world for our kids and our grandkids. I
think I like to believe that because maybe I live in New York City where it's super diverse. We already have some of that, and we will continue to have that and become even better. I make friends with people from all over the world, and our children are friends, and we're very supportive of each other. And I think that will continue to become even better as long as we continue to address issues that are unfair, and we kind of stand together and for every single color, for each different communities, and we are allies for any injustice that we see. And I think we will get there. And I think that our young granddaughters or children will continue to do our work that we haven't finished doing. Yeah.
So important. I've the show that schools have wanted so much for me to present. Boy, I should be able to speak English better. I've been doing it for almost 100 years. When I go into schools presenting my educational magic shows, schools, most of the time, they want me to talk about the issue of bullying and how kids can build a culture where everybody feels welcome, everybody feels accepted, where kids understand that it's not okay to bully others. And I've been, for the last 15, 20 years, been letting kids know that the first step to doing that is to stand up. When they see somebody being hurt, when they see somebody being excluded, what they need to do is to stand up and address it. And that's what you just shared with us right now, is when we see people being discriminated against, being treated unfairly, being judged, prejudged based on the color of their skin or their language or where their parents originated from, we need to speak up and say something about it.
Right. It's not easy. The good things are usually not easy. And the more you do it, the easier it will become.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And the great thing is, the benefit is, you make friends, and your kids make friends. And that's really what life is about. Just getting back to Asian Adventures A to Z. So we're going to be, when we sit down and read this book with our kids, either during May, the Asian American Heritage Month, or throughout the year, we're going to be meeting different people from different Asian countries.
Yes, this book is super special because it took me a while to include as many Asian countries as I can find from A to Z. This book includes people from Cambodia, from Mongolia, from places that you don't even hear of, Laos. I think we mentioned Tibet in there. We just kind of try to include as many people, community, food, language, and the drawings are amazing. When I saw it, my illustrator is so talented. When I saw it, I was like, oh my goodness, do you know how much I've learned just by doing this book? And I was interviewing people from different places. I was interviewing people from Cambodia, and I said, can you tell me what are some amazing things in your country or your food or your culture that starts with the letter O? Because I need to fill in my letters. O, P, V are not easy letters to fill in about landmark, and they were so helpful. And I made a lot of friends, and it was a very fun project, and I'm very proud of it. I hope that as many people will have the opportunity to read it, see it as possible.
Yeah. We got to give a shout out to your illustrator.
Yes. My illustrator is a Vietnamese woman who lives in Vietnam now. Her name is Jade. Her last name is Lee, and she's incredibly talented. She's one of the most talented illustrators I've worked with so far, and she just takes her time in research because she's from Vietnam, and she has no idea how certain countries like Korea or Japan eat with their sushi, or if they the way they dress. So she did a lot of research before she did the illustrations. So I'm really, really appreciative that I got very lucky and found someone amazing.
That's wonderful. I'm really lucky that I became friends with you. And I know people are going to want to know more about you and more about your fantastic books. Where can they go online to find out about your books and find out about you?
I have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. My Instagram is Instagram/by, B-Y, my first name Yobe, Y-O-B-E, my last name Qiu, and that's the same for my Facebook. And my website is www.byobeq.com. And I spend quite some time promoting my mission online. So I look forward to meeting a lot of new people.
Yeah. And I know we have a lot of educators listening, and I know that you have a lot of services helping educators, especially early childhood educators. Is there another place that people can go if they want to talk to you about those consulting services that you have?
Yes, I have a lot of educators who reach out and say that, Yobe, I worked in this school in my small town and I want to do things a little differently. I have a mission. This is my philosophy. How can I open my own school? Or how can I write my own first book? How can I do this? And the best way to reach out to me and talk about things, and I love talking to educators, it's just emailing me at hello@byobeq.com, and then we'll set up a Zoom call and we'll chat about how I can help.
Awesome. We've had a great time celebrating Asian American Heritage Month with our friend Yobe Qiu. Be sure to check out Asian Adventure A to Z. Hey, Yobe, thanks so much for being back with us on the Reading with Your Kids podcast.
Thank you so much. It's always an amazing time with you.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Reading with Your Kids. We hope it inspires you to join us for the next exciting episode of the show. We also hope that you would consider leaving a 5-star review wherever you found today's episode of Reading with Your Kids. We hope you would consider leaving a 5-star review on that platform. We also would love for you to share a link to this episode with all of your family and friends. It really helps us grow our army that is dedicated to helping all families grow closer through reading. We'd also love for you to connect with us on social media, facebook.com/readingwithyourkids, at Reading With Your Kids on Instagram, and at Jedley Magic on X. We have a great YouTube channel, youtube.com/readingwithyourkids. And of course, our website, guess what it is? You're right, readingwithyourkids.com. If you go there and you're an author, please be sure to click the Authors Click Here button up at the top of the page. You can find out how you can be a guest here on Reading with Your Kids and tell thousands of Kidlit fans all over the world about your fantastic children's book. You can also learn about our very effective and incredibly affordable promotional services. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful, starting with our guest, Ha Din. Please be sure to check out the Jade Bracelet. I also want to give a big shout out and thanks to our buddy Yobe Qiu. I want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Chris Doherty, Rory Grady, Stella Cheray, Megan Bocher. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place. And you do that every time you read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next episode of Reading with Your Kids.